Vestby in one of the coastal cities in Norway. We now know that this city is surrounded by a group of mountains, where at any moment a tremor or collapse could occur, completely destroying the city and killing everyone in it, as has happened many times before. The point is, we are currently with a resident of the city named Christian. Right now, Christian is going to his house where he lives with his wife, his little daughter Julia, and his son Sindre. Currently, Christian sits and talks with his family. And from their conversation, we learn that Christian and his family are planning to move from this city very soon. The next day, Christian goes to his job where he works at the Seismic Monitoring Center. This center, by the way, is responsible for monitoring the mountains surrounding the city. So if there is any seismic activity, they can alert the people to evacuate the city immediately to keep everyone safe. Christian sits with his friends at work, including his boss Arvid, a woman named Margot, and another person named Jacob, among others. The important thing is that everyone is saying goodbye to Christian because today is his last day at the center, and indeed Christian finishes up with everyone and is leaving. However, he is surprised by an alarm going off in the control room, so they all go to see what it is. They are surprised to find that the groundwater level under the mountain has decreased significantly. Christian realizes that this could lead to a tremor or a mountain collapse. But Arvid informs them that their sensors did not detect anything, so there is no reason for concern at all. This calms Christian a bit, and he leaves. The next day, we learn that Christian will take his kids, Sondre and Julia, and leave the city. As for Aiden, she will stay in the city for a few days because she has work, then she will also move and join them in their new city. The important thing is, Christian is actually taking his kids and leaving the city, but at the last moment he remembers something and returns to the center, leaves Sondre and Julia in the car in front of the center, and goes inside and begins. Sen, the sun burns Sanida, and sentence and they find out that it is possible the mountain might collapse, but their equipment has not detected anything yet because it's possible the mountain's vibrations have damaged the cables connected to the sensors, therefore they can't determine if there is a problem. Christian's words convince everyone, so Christian takes Jacob and descends the mountain to inspect the cables of the sensors. It turns out that Christian was right and the cables were destroyed by the mountain's tremors. In this instance, Christian and Jacob return to the center and Christian now says they have to evacuate the city, but he refuses and tells Christian that nothing will happen and that they will just replace the cables with new ones and that's it. And in this instance, as Christian gets upset but doesn't comment and leaves Arvid and everyone, then goes back to his kids in the car and doesn't find them. So he knows they must be with their mother at the hotel where she works and he decides to go to them. We see that Adam, Christian's wife, works at a hotel, specifically at the reception, with a colleague named Phoebe K. The important thing is that currently, two couples named Philip and Maria come to book at the hotel. Anyway, after not long, Christian arrives at the hotel and finds his kids there. He apologizes to them for being late due to work and decides to stay with them at the hotel. But Julia, Christian's daughter, asks him to go home so they can spend one last night there and say goodbye to the house. Christian stops, takes Julia, and they leave. As for him, he stays in the hotel with his mother because, by the way, he likes her work colleague now, so he wants to spend a lot of time with them here. The next day, my friend, there is someone working at the center named Mikael. He finds that there is a sensor still working, and this sensor detects strange movement in the mountain. Quickly, he calls Margit, and she in turn contacts Arvid and Jakob to inform them about everything that happened. Without wasting time, Arvid and Jakob quickly go into the mountain to verify whether there are indeed vibrations or not. At that time, my friend Christian was preparing to leave the city, but suddenly he saw birds leaving the city and escaping, and in very large flocks, not small ones. So Christian realized that the tremor would happen in the mountain and it would collapse since birds always migrate from any place where tremors will occur. The important thing is that Christian immediately calls Margit and gets all the information from her. After that, he asks her to get in touch with Arvid, and indeed he contacts him and tells him now that he must get out of the mountain immediately because the collapse will start. At that time, he actually starts to do it. But the collapse actually begins to happen in the mountain, and the only one, by the way, unties his own rope and ties it to Jacob, so that Jacob is safe as the mountain starts to collapse. He falls dead amidst Jacob's screaming in terror, who can't believe everything that's happening, and when he tried to call her, the connection was cut. So we now know that the mountain started to collapse as well, and indeed, we see that the mountain began to collapse, and this started affecting the whole city to the point that the tremors and collapses affected Christian's house, which began to collapse. So Christian takes his daughter Julian in his arms to keep her safe. On the other hand, in the hotel where Eden and Sondre are staying, Eden now goes outside the hotel and finds that the shaking has started and the isolation in the city has increased. Very suitable for her son Sondre, and she goes now to see him. On the way, by the way, she meets Vibeke and learns from Vibeke that the mountain has collapsed, and this means a very strong flood is going to hit the city very soon, literally in minutes. Therefore, they need to quickly account for all hotel guests and move them out of the hotel immediately. And indeed, Babiku starts. And with her, Aiden goes around the entire hotel to wake up all the guests, including Philip and Maria, if you remember. But Aiden can't find her son at all, so she leaves everything and starts looking for him. Meanwhile, Phoebe now takes all the hotel guests to the bus to get them completely out of the city. Incidentally, Maria decides to go with Aiden to look for Sandri. And of course, Philip doesn't agree to leave his wife, so he goes with her. He and Maria go. But the flood, my friend, attacks the entire city, including the hotel, and enters the hotel as Aiden, Maria, and Philip are now looking for Sandrine in the hotel's basement. And because of that, by the way, the water level is very, very high. Currently, Maria is drowning and dies in a very sad scene in front of everyone. Neither Aiden nor Philip can do anything for her. And the important thing is they keep advancing until they find him in a room like that. The problem is that the door of the room locks them in, and the water keeps rising very high, almost flooding. But they try to open the door now and still fail, and the water keeps rising. Because of this, he literally becomes overtaken by madness. He keeps trying to float on the water. As a result, he starts pushing Aiden and Sandriel under the water to lean on them and not drown. Of course, because of this, Aiden and Sandriel are about to drown, but Aiden manages to control Philip and pushes him underwater to prevent him from attacking her. And because of this, Philip drowns and dies, just like his wife Maria. But my friend, they remain stuck in the room, unable to get out at all. Meanwhile, we see Christian taking his daughter Julian to leave the city. They're currently driving in their car on the road filled with many other cars with people also escaping from the city just like them. Because of all these people, there's a massive traffic jam, and the road becomes completely congested and literally comes to a stop. Christian is thinking and realizes that if they stay like this, the flood will attack them and they will all drown. So he decides to get out of the car with his daughter Julian, and they start rushing. On the road, Christian tells everyone while running that they should also get out and run like him to escape from here in any way possible. And indeed, my friend, people start doing just like Christian and fleeing like him and his daughter Julia. The flood begins to increase and get closer to them more and more. On the way, Christian sees some neighbors, a family consisting of 3 people, a father named Thomas, his wife Anna, and their little daughter. He tells them to run with him to escape from here. But the problem is that the car hits Anne. Thomas doesn't notice it. Christian tells Thomas to take his daughter and Julia and run away, and he will try to save Anne. He goes now to save Anne, but the problem is Anne is injured and cannot walk. So Christian takes her and puts her in a car to protect her and sits next to her. The flood keeps rising very high until it overwhelms Christian and overturns their car. And that's it. After a while, we see that Christian is in the car and is fine. But unfortunately, Anna has died, so Christian is very upset about her. Not long after, he leaves her, gets out, and continues to look for Thomas until he finds him with Julia and Thomas's daughter. Then Thomas finds out, unfortunately, that his wife has died, and of course, this makes Thomas very upset. But Christian doesn't care about all that, and he leaves Julia with Thomas and goes to search for his wife Eden and his son Sonder. And not long after, by the way, Christian reaches the hotel and starts looking for his family here and there. He even manages to find the room they are in, which is literally flooded with water. So Christian goes into the water, takes Aden and brings her to a safe place. Then he goes back in and gets his son, Sandri, and he takes him now to get him out of the water to where Aden is. Indeed, Christian is able to get Sandri out of the water. But the problem is that Christian himself faints, and Aden and Sandri now think he's dead. But they continue to dry off, and they actually succeed in that. Christian regains consciousness and is very well, reuniting with his family once again. Despite the destruction that hit the city, my friend, they are all happy because they are all fine and together. Thankfully, this whole wave has generally passed safely, and the family is now all together and well. And with this happy ending, the movie concludes, which I hope you enjoyed. That's it. Bye.